So I was speaking with a friend, and he said that if Ghana is not careful, we might lose the 2 slots we have in Africa. And I told him I don't think that's possible because we always have to be at the CAF Confederation Cup and the CAF Champions League. But ideally, if that was possible, the rate at which we are performing, CAF might have taken that away from us, because in the last 2-3 seasons, we've really not made a mark in the CAF Champions League or the CAF Confederation Cup. In today's edition of Explainer, we are really going to talk about 5 reasons why I think Ghanaian clubs are really not having a good time in Africa, and maybe what we can do to improve on it. My name is Delali Frank. The channel is Del Soccer, and the edition is Explainer, where we talk about things that I believe need to be talked about, and we also go into details and try our possible best to explain the topics in football. If it's your first time here, please subscribe and be part of this community. Without wasting your time, let's go straight into today's video. Good. So in the last 2-3 seasons, Ghanaian clubs have really failed to make a name for themselves. The last time we saw a Ghanaian club go all the way to the group stages was Kumasi Asante Kotoko under CK Akono. Apart from that, we've always not been good in Africa, and we've always lost to clubs that we were really not supposed to lose to. Kotoko lost their last time, lost to a club that we thought that it would have been an easy route for us. Accra Asufo themselves in the last 2 seasons have not been a good one. The last one, Kumasi Asante Kotoko were drawn to a team in Burkina Faso, whilst Accra Asufo were drawn to a team in Mali. This time around, we thought maybe it's the perfect opportunity for us to see Ghanaian clubs in the group stages, because it was a route that we believed that would have been an easy one for us, because Kotoko were not facing any of the top North African clubs, and Accra Asufo themselves were not facing any of the top North African clubs. But unfortunately for us, Asufo lost 3-1 on aggregate to Bamako, whilst Kumasi Asante Kotoko also lost on penalties to Kadiogo. And at that time, and I think has been a true reflection of how our Ghanaian clubs are. Maybe we are relying on past glories too much, but it's time for us to look at the perfect reasons. So the first reason that I'm going to talk about is lack of planning. Life, yeah? Everything you do, the first thing you need is to have a plan. And it's also in football. I've always tell people that the football we play every day, the 90 minutes you see on the pitch is just 10% of the entire process that gives you the 90-minute results. And for me, the first thing you need to do is to have proper planning. Do our clubs have planning? How well do we plan when we are going to these competitions? And what is the plan and the way forward? The plan basically is what will influence the decisions you are going to make. It's what will even influence the investment you are going to look for. That is what will even influence the kind of players that you are going to sign. One thing that I think has been very clear in our activities is the fact that we don't really plan. What is our target? Are we going to these competitions to just get the name? Are we going to these competitions to go all the way and go and win? Are we going into these competitions just because we want to get to the money zone and get paid by CAF? And I believe that something that the clubs in North Africa, the clubs in South Africa, the clubs that are performing well in Tanzania and the likes have ahead of us is that they plan themselves. Sometimes you need that. Africa, you need that planning to know that, okay, this first season, we are going for the experience. And after that, as a result of having the experience, we'll be able to go and compete well. Because if you look at our class, for instance, when we go in the first competition and we got knocked out, because we don't plan well, we don't even know whether we were successful or we were not. Because what will be a successful season for a club A might completely be different from a club B. But if you have a plan and you know what you want to achieve, at the end of the day, you'll be determined and concentrate on the plan. One problem that we have is that we don't plan. And there's a statement that if you don't plan, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And that is our problem. Our next thing is the fact that we don't take responsibility when things don't go well. And I believe this is not something of even football class per se. As human beings, we naturally love not taking the blame when things don't go well for us. And I believe it's something that we need to start looking at. We need to be responsible for the decisions we take and always hold ourselves accountable. As Kumasi Asante Kotoko and Accra folk have failed to qualify from the preliminary stages even to the group stages, who is holding themselves responsible? Who is taking the blame for it? Accra folk are all over the place looking for somebody to blame. Kumasi Asante Kotoko themselves are also always looking around, looking for somebody to blame. And I believe that is something that we always need to pay attention to. Who is the cause? Who was the cause? What didn't work well for us? Who and why did we not perform well? And are we responsible for our lack of performing? Personally, if you look at Accra House of Folk, for instance, it was obviously clear that the fact that they sacked Samuel Boadu was a pure reason why they failed to qualify. Yes, you wanted to sack Samuel Boadu, but I believe, and I think it was proper football, it would make proper footballing sense if you decided to keep Samuel Boadu and let him play these 2 games. And if you watch their last game, Samuel Boadu was around and he was just there to support the club. And you could clearly tell, based on how the fans treated him and how the fans behaved towards the man, you could clearly tell that they were really interested in him, and maybe House folks should have kept him. But yes, his game as usual, they failed to qualify. Nobody will take responsibility for it. We look for people around ourselves and blame them without really taking responsibility for it. And I think it's one thing that is bringing us down. The next thing that I'm sure you know, that I know, is lack of investment. Africa is very expensive. Playing in Africa, I've always said that playing inter-club competition is very expensive. From the Champions League, from the Europa League, all the way to the CAF Champions League and the CAF Confederation Cup. They are expensive competitions to take part in. The season that Chelsea won the Champions League under Thomas Tuchel, Chelsea financial statement stated that the club ran at a loss. Playing in these African competitions or playing in inter-club competition is very expensive, from food, transport, hotel, winning bonuses, flights. It's very expensive. And if you don't plan and have proper investment, you would always go and you lose to the clubs in North Africa. Look at us. When the season comes to an end, you see that we are losing so many players from the league and we are not able to maintain our leagues. And I've always said this. See, it is not I've always said that it is not by force to maintain your players when the season comes to an end. It is just a matter of time to admit what you are doing. Are you doing buying and selling? Do you want to go into the African competitions to go and perform? If that is what you want to do, then you need to start investing in experienced players. If you look at Accra Folk and Kumasi Asante Kotoko, for instance, the season came to an end and Kumasi Asante Kotoko, for instance, lost not more than 4 players in their starting 11. If you end that way, there's no way you can go into Africa and go and perform. There's no way that, I'm not saying players from Division 2, Division 1 are not great players, but you need to be able to compete with these African clubs for the top players on the African continent. Even in our domestic front, we are not even able to compete for the top players. The top 3 players that performed extremely well in the Ghana Premier League are not still in the Ghana Premier League. Now, most of them too are also playing on the African continent, and our clubs could not maintain them. It means that we lack the investment. And there's nothing wrong with it if you can't maintain a player. But there's everything wrong with it if what you want to do is you want to go to Africa and go and perform. There's no way you can sell your best player to a Tanzanian club, play against the Tanzanian club, and expect them not to beat you. They will definitely do that. So for me, investment is one problem, and I'm sure you know. The fourth one is that we are bad travelers. That is it. And I think because we don't have the investment, it makes us bad travelers. One thing about us is that when we play at home, we don't perform well. And when we travel away from home, we really don't give good results. Accra Folk went away, they took 6. Their last game, when they went away, they lost by 3-0. Kumasi Asante Kotoko against Kadiogo, they managed to pick a 1-0 win. And one thing about the African competition is that because of the away goal rule, whenever you are playing away, a goal that you score, as a matter of fact, happens to become has a potential of being a 2-goal if the tie becomes a draw. And for us, whenever we go away, we always struggle. It's because of fans, yeah. Because when we travel away, our traveling arrangements are not really the best. The best we can also do, sometimes we go by road. And we know Africa and how ideally it is very difficult to travel on the African continent because of how our system is. And that makes it very difficult when Ghanaian clubs that don't really have that muscle and the investment to go there all the way to go and perform. And for me, it's something that we really need to work on. If we want to be able to go to Africa and go and excel, then we need to work on our traveling arrangements. The last one is lack of competition in our league. The lack of competition, I mean, is not about our league not being competitive enough. One thing about that is that whenever our clubs are in the African competitions, our league is not active. So they really don't even get competitive games to play. Is it that we are off season? Is it that the season is over and the Confederations or the Champions League is at the end? Or players and the clubs are not active? Look at Kodoko, for instance, when they were playing, the season had not even started here. In Ghana, Accra Suffolk, on the other hand, went in and there's injunction on the league. The clubs need competitive football to prepare and test their smoothness level. There's no way, and I repeat, there's no way you'll be able to play against Division 2, you'll be able to play against select sides and go to Africa and go and perform. It doesn't work that way. And for me, it's something I really need to look at. For us, the best thing we can also do for the club that play in Africa is to make sure that we have a lot of domestic competition for them to prepare them to the top. So in today's video, we talked about 5 reasons why I really think that our clubs are not really excelling in Africa. And if we pay attention to them, it might help us. The first one is that we don't plan. We don't know whether we are going into the group stages. We don't set proper targets and plan and say, okay, this time around we are going into the group stages. When we get to the group stages, at least it's a success. Then we come back and build on it. Not at all. We just go. Anything that happens, we take it. We also are bad travelers. We don't travel well. So when we go away and we don't really get good results away from home. We don't have good investments. We are not able to keep our best players in the clubs. And clubs that are going to Africa, if you can't keep your best players, you need to get the top performing players to be able to go there and go and perform. The next one is we don't take responsibility when we don't take responsibility in decisions we make, and when we go and we fail to perform, we don't take the blame and say, yes, we took this decision and it didn't work for us. A classic example is Accra Suffolk, for instance. They need to admit that one of their downfall is deciding to sack Sumo Bodu 2 months or 2 weeks or 3 weeks to a CAF Confederations game and go and play the competition without a head coach. There's no way you'll be able to perform. And the people that took that decision need to take responsibility and be responsible for them. So for me, these are my 5 reasons. And I'm sure there are so many reasons you can also give. So I want you to know. I want you to also state it in the comment section. Let me know what you also think in the comment section. Do you agree with me? If you don't agree, tell me. If you also think that there are other reasons why we also fail to perform, add it in the comment section. Let's have a conversation around how we can always excel. For me, I believe that is the best way our clubs and our football can develop. My name is Delali Frank. The segment is Explainer. And today we talk about how Ghanaian clubs can excel in the African football. If you watched the video to an end, thank you. But until we meet again, please subscribe to this channel and let's build this community together. Bye-bye for now.